What is up, everybody, to another episode of the Nerdy Brigade. With me today, I am all by myself, and I am Crow, and I have been working on something for a while, which I think you guys will enjoy. Now, the two things that you need to know about me for this video in particular is that I love Pokemon and Monster Hunter. I've been playing since 3 Ultimate, which is, not that long compared to since people who've been playing it since the PS2 original, but still. And I also love Pokemon. Starting with Pokemon Platinum, I have developed a strong love for both of these series. Now, if you look up on the internet, you can find multiple Pokemon X Monster Hunter crossovers. You can find animations of it. You can find like fake trading card Pokemon cards with like monsters from Monster Hunter on it. There's all sorts of things that you can find about these two series crossing over. And I think the main reason why that is because Monster Hunter is sort of similar to Pokemon in the fact that, there's just a wide variety of different species and stuff like that. And so that's another reason. That's the reason why I think people like to compare or just do stuff with these two series in general. Now, I am another person who would love magically if there was a Pokemon X Monster Hunter crossover. And that's what I took the liberty of doing here today. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you all of the large monsters from the very first Monster Hunter game on PS2, if they were turned into Pokemon. I will show you what types they would have, what stats they would have, what their ability would be, all that stuff. And yeah, it's basically what this video is going to be about. I'm going to be doing all large monsters from the very first Monster Hunter game on PS2. I will also be doing no subspecies. I'm not doing any subspecies, and I'll save the Elder Dragons for the end, which are the legendaries of the Monster Hunter series. So yeah, let's get started, why don't we? We're going in alphabetical order, so I'm gonna flip-flop between just a whole bunch of them. So, the very first monster on our list is Basarios. Basarios is in the Monster Hunter games, he is a monster who loves to hide underneath the ground and pretend that he's a bunch of rocks. He's also a joke for ranged attacks because he has nothing to do to them. Which is why, if we take a look at Basarios' stats here, he is a physical wall. With 140 defense and 100 hit points, he is there to tank defensive hits all day. That's his main objective. His special defense and his speed, on the other hand, are completely awful. They're really, really bad. So he's a wall. I mean, I wouldn't say a wall. He's more like a tank because his 80 attack is decent by this one standard. It wouldn't be decent in current Pokemon Gen 7 meta, but I will say right now that my stats here that I've made up for all these guys are nowhere near as inflated as some of the stats in Gen 7 are. So yeah, so these are his stats. These great hit points and great defense. Everything else is mediocre or below. If we go over his typing is a grass/rock typing, as you saw from his image. Due to this typing, he has 4 weaknesses, but I'll say right now that there are 3 types that are not prominent yet because there's no monster that has these typings, and that's fighting, bug, and steel. None of those typings are introduced in the first one, so fighting, bug, and steel are really good to have as weaknesses because those don't exist in the first Monster Hunter game. Because Selfless Queen doesn't exist for bug, Tigrex doesn't exist for fighting, and Uragan doesn't exist for steel. And there's a bunch of other monsters as well. That means the only real weakness that Basarios has is his ice weakness, which is only a 2x weakness. And yeah, he resists normal and electricity, which are going to be both very prominent as you can see later down the road. So Basarios' typing for the first Monster Hunter game, at least how I've created it, is really, really good. So next, let's go over Basarios' ability. Now, Basarios' ability is Zap Zipper, which is he boosts his attack stat if hit by a grass move instead of taking damage. Not fantastic, but it's alright. That's all I really have to say about Basarios and his ability. Really good typing for how I've made the game, and decent stats all around. So let's move on to the next guy on our list in alphabetical order. It is the annoying fish sand monster, Cepheid. Cepheid is one of the, I believe, 4 dromes in the first Monster Hunter game. And if you don't know what a drome is, it's a really weak, really early game monster that is just a bigger version of small monsters that you fought. And they're really annoying, and they're really weak, and they really, really, really don't matter. But they all count as large monsters, so I gave them stats and stuff. So let's go over Cepheid stats. Cepheid is squishy, especially compared to Pasarios, who is monstrous in the defensive area. Cepheid has really good special defense at 110 and really good speed at 85. And really, I mean, speed 85 nowadays in Pokemon is like not even average, really. It's honestly a little bit below average. But for here, it's average and it's good, as you'll see with the stats later on. All these other stats are pretty bad. 40 special attack means that he's not going to do anything with special attacks at all. But a decent attack stat of 85 allows him to hit at least somewhat hard with physical. But besides from that, his hit points, his defense, and his special attack aren't very good at all. At least he can wall, especially defensive, sort of. Now we go over his typing. His typing is water/ground, which is really, really, really good here. Because of one thing. The only monster, spoiler, with stab on grass moves is Pasarios. He's the only grass type in the first game. And because of that, and since Cepheid is a water/ground type, his only weakness is a 4x weakness to Pasarios. That's basically it. Everything. He's immune to electric, which is prominent, as you'll see. He resists fire, which is really good. He resists rock, which is really good. Taking neutral damage from ground isn't fantastic, because ground is by far the most common type. But resisting fire and rock is very good. Besides from that, we go over his ability, which is Water Absorb, which restores hit points if hit by a water move. And that's all I have to say about Cepheid. After Cepheid, we come to Diablos, and Diablos is one powerful monster. Diablos has a record in Monster Hunter for being the first monster that charges, it never stops charging. Diablos has designs similar to a bull, and he's very prominent in charging. Now, let's go over Diablos' stats. Diablos, stat-wise, is very, very offensively powered. He has 125 attack, 100 hit points, and 100 defense, and 80 speed. Besides from that, his special attack and special defense aren't fantastic. So yeah, he hits stuff really hard, and he can take hits pretty well. And he's also actually has a speed stat. With the base stat total of 530, and him focusing on the physical side of things, Diablos is very, very powerful. Next up, we go over his typing. Diablos is one of the 2 ground/flying types in the game because he likes hiding underground in the desert, and he has wings. That typing isn't exactly fantastic because water and ice do exist. There's I believe 2 for each in the first gen, and he has that 4x ice weakness and that 2x water weakness, which is not great. His immunity to ground electricity, though, is absolutely fantastic. Like, not even joking, that is great. Those 3 resistances, though, are non-existent because fighting and bug don't exist. And there is 3 poison types, but that doesn't really matter. So yeah, so his typing's sort of like a double-edged sword. His 2 weaknesses do actually exist, but his 2 immunities are absolutely fantastic. If we go over his ability, Moxie, it's a really, really good ability that helps him sweep. Even though his speed stat is only average, with this Moxie ability, it allows him to probably sweep a lot easier because of his devastating attack stat. Basically, he gets a boosted attack stat after knocking out anybody, and because of how high his attack stat is, he's gonna be killing stuff even without the attack boost. So all around, Moxie is a really good ability for Diablos, and Diablos is all around a really good monster. Next up is the second drome of our list, is Genderome, or I don't even want to try to pronounce his name. Anyways, Genderome is an electric Velociraptor, which sounds really cool, but he's still honestly pretty goddamn weak, and you'll see what I mean when we look with stats right now. So Genderome is he focuses heavily on the special side of the spectrum, with 80 special attack and 80 special defense and 105 speed. I think that's the fastest we've seen so far. But his physical side of the spectrum is like a baby Pokemon. 45 attack and 40 defense is really not good, like at all. It's bad. That's just the best way I can put it. It's not good. At least he can deal out hefty amounts of electrical damage with his decent special attack. And electricity is good, because there's a lot of flying types, especially later down the road, when we get to near the end of this list, there's a lot of flying types. But all around his he's just too frail. There's a lot of physical attackers in the first game, and he's probably just too frail for everything that's going to be happening to him. His typing is electric/normal. He shares his typing with the, if you guys know the Pokemon Helioptile, I believe his name is, or something like that. Electric/normal. So basically, he gets stab on electric and normal, and for his stab on normal, he gets an immunity to ghost, which doesn't matter because Gormagala doesn't exist yet with his ghost typing. And that's really it. That immunity to ghost doesn't help him, but that weakness to fighting doesn't hinder him either because Tigrex doesn't exist yet. That weakness to ground, though, absolutely sucks. There's Diablos will destroy him. There's a bunch of other, like, there's another guy near down the road that will destroy him as well. It's just not good. And his resistances, his resistance to flying is good. His resistance to other electrical is good, but that's really about all I have to say about his, that's really all I gotta say about it. Next we go to Unnerve, and now Unnerve is, I don't know. I'll be going over a possible competitive format, later after I've finished all of this. And gonna be honest with you, berries, he has Unnerve, which allows your opponent can't eat berries. Unnerve is really only good in VGC because that's where a lot of berries are. There's a lot of berries in VGC, but in singles, which is the competitive format I'm going to be going over, it's not really helpful. So yeah, his ability isn't great. That's all I have to say about Genderome. Okay, Gravios. Gravios is the fire-type counterpart to Basarios. Instead of hiding underneath ground, instead of hiding underneath the ground and moss, he's hiding underneath lava and rocks, which is really annoying to make him fight. But Gravios is here, and he's here to breathe fire and bury you underneath a bunch of rocks. So let's go over Gravios's stats now. So Gravios' stats are pretty well rounded. He's got good special defense, he's got good attack, hit points and defense, and decent special attack as well. His only hindrance is his speed, which sort of hinders him. That's what I said. All around, because he has good special attack and good attack, he can use his dual stab of fire/rock very well. And speaking about him being a fire/rock using those two stabs, well, his typing, he's a fire/rock type, which means that he has a lot of weaknesses and a lot of resistances. Those weaknesses, though, are really bad. A 4 times weakness to water and ground suck, and a weakness to rock also doesn't help him much either. And everything that he resists aren't very prominent. Flying and poison and fire are really about it. Ice as well and sort of normal, but that 4 times ground and water weakness really is not fantastic. Gravios's ability is Rockhead, which protects him from recoil damage, so he could use moves like Double Edge, without, or Flare Blitz, without any problem about recoil. I don't think there's a rock move that has a recoil though. So yeah, that's about it for Gravios. I'm trying to keep things short from now on, so I'll be yeah. So let's move on. Next up is good old Gypsy Ross, the cowardly bird that likes to steal your stuff and play dead when he gets weak. So yeah, that's really all I have to say about Gypsy Ross. He's annoying, he likes to poison you, he likes to blind you, and he likes to run away. Sound like fun to hunt him? Because it is not. So yeah, Gypsy Ross is very annoying and also incredibly weak, and that is reflected pretty well in his, stats. So yeah, Gypsy Ross's stats, bad. Base stat total of 420. His hit points are atrocious. Not as bad. I mean, his stats aren't awful. He has decent special defense, decent attack, and decent special attack. But that's really all that's going for him. Nothing stands out about him, and I bet anybody can perform his job better. I bet the other two poison types can perform anything that he can do better as well. But we'll go over the two other poison types very soon. First, let's go over his type. So he's a poison slash flying type, sort of like Crobat. Psychic doesn't exist. Electric, it does exist, and it's bad. Rock exists, and it's bad that he's weak to it. And Ice exists, and that's bad that he's weak to it. And pretty much everything that he resists doesn't exist. Besides, he'll resist other poison types, and he'll resist grass types. And that's really about it. Oh yeah, he'll also resist fairy types, but to a lesser extent, and you'll figure that out later. Let's go over his ability. His ability, Wimp Out, is pretty accurate. He'll run away when he gets weak. That's what Gypsy Ross does in the game, and that's what he does here. That's really it. Let's move on. Isledrom. Isledrom is the last, not the last, second to last Drome, and he's also the strongest Drome. Not a proud title to be sure, because being the strongest Drome is like, I don't really have a good analogy. Anyways, so yeah, Isledrom is definitely the strongest and most annoying to kill a drone by far, because he actually has a hit point set, and he loves to jump around. And this is, again, reflected pretty well in his stats. Isledrom is tanky. 90 defense and 90 special defense with 85 hit points and pretty atrocious attack stats. That's really all I gotta say about him. His speed is also decent as well. So yeah, Isledrom is here to tank those hits and tank them well, but that's really all he can do. Type-wise, he is the second poison type that I was talking about. He is poison slash dark, which means he only has one weakness to ground, which is, you know, not fantastic, but okay. His immunity to psychic really doesn't matter, and all of his resistances, besides his resistance to other poison types and grass types, really doesn't matter either. So Isledrom's typing isn't exactly what I would call the best, but it's passable. I mean, he can still tank stuff pretty well, and probably the best defensive poison type in the game. His ability, Poison Point, also helps him tank, as if he gets hit with contact moves, he can poison the target. And that's basically it. Let's move on. Hi, Kazoo. Kazoo is the creepy electric ice type from the very first Monster Hunter. He has no background in music, and he's really annoying to fight. But he is here. You know, I look at the Monster Hunter First Games roster, and I realize how many of these guys are annoying to fight. They didn't really have a good roster in the first Monster Hunter game, did they? But, besides from realizing that the first Monster Hunter game didn't have the greatest lineup, let's go over his stats. Whoa! Hit point stat. 130 hit points means that Kazoo can take... You would think Kazoo can take a lot of hits. Specially wise, maybe, with his special defense at 75, but physical wise, no. He only has 45 defense, which is not great. So he's very vulnerable to physical attacks, and has an electric type. You know what type of physical attack is going to hit him. Ground. But besides from that, let's move on to his other typing advantages slash weaknesses. He is weak to fire, rock, and ground, which is bad. And he only resists, the only prominent two types that he resists are flying and electric. And that's really about it. That's all I gotta say. Let's move on to his ability. Hello, Thick Fat. He has Thick Fat, which is a really good ability, which protects him from fire and ice type moves, which means, you know what? Kazoo really isn't so bad. Let's move on. Plesioth. The definition of hip check and probably the biggest offender of the broken hitboxes in the first Monster Hunter game. Plesioth is here to hit you from a mile away with his goddamn hip checks, and he sucks for it. I wish I could give him awful stats, and you know I could've, but let's be honest here. Plesioth, despite being really annoying, he's actually quite a challenging monster to fight. So, stat-wise, Plesioth is all around really good. No big weaknesses that you can see, and no big disadvantages either. It means that Plesioth is an all well-rounded monster with the ability to attack, especially physically and tank both as well. His speed stat is also very decent as well. With the base stat total of 500 and how it's pretty evenly distributed, Plesioth is pretty well adapted to take on any situation as a whole. Plesioth shares the water and electric typing that Gyarados has, and because of that, he has a weakness to rock and electricity, which is, not fantastic, but he resists fire, water, and that's about it. So all around, Plesioth's typing for this first generation is not exactly what I would call fantastic, but it's serviceable, I guess. As for his ability, Tinted Lenses allows him to basically get rid of non-very effective. This is a really good ability that I didn't even know existed, and I didn't know what it did until I gave it to him. So yeah, this is a really, really good ability. Tinted Lenses, at least I think it's good. I don't know. Okay, so Raytheon, the female green dragon with a really attractive spike on her chin. Raytheon is here to poison you with her tail and fly above your head, and that's really about it. Raytheon might not be that challenging as a fight, at least she's challenging compared to the other monsters in the first Monster Hunter game. As the queen of the land, Raytheon is here with her amazing stats of, let's see now, 75 across the board, and pretty much, yeah. So a base stat total of 480, Raytheon has 75 in most areas and 90 in both hit points and special defense. She is by far the most well-rounded of the three poison types, and can probably do the best offensively compared to Isledrom and Gypsy Ross. Which is nice, because the other two really couldn't do anything offensively. So Isledrom is the bulky poison type, while Raytheon is the attacking poison type. As for her typing, I mentioned that she is poison. She's poison/flying, so she shares the exact same problems and attributes that Gypsy Ross has. But in my opinion, I feel like she's much better than Gypsy Ross. Well, that's not my opinion. That's a fact. Her stats are purely better. I don't even think Gypsy Ross has a single stat over her. But so, yeah, now let's go over her ability. She also shares the exact same ability as Isledrom as Poison Point, but in my opinion, she uses it a lot worse due to the fact that she is not a wall like Isledrom was, and she won't be taking as many contact hits, especially since her primary weakness is electric, which, as you know, isn't contact heavy. Let's move on. Rathalos, probably one of the most recognizable monsters in the whole Monster Hunter series. With his burning hot wings and flaring hot fire, Rathalos is here to burn you all to cinders and never, never stop flying. Jesus Christ, why won't this thing hit the ground? Despite the fact that Rathalos was supposed to be a cool fight and he turned out to be, oh my god, why won't this guy hit the ground? His stats are strictly better than Raytheon's. Basically a 10 plus in all areas besides hit points. Rathalos has 85 across the board compared to Raytheon. You might think that this makes Rathalos strictly just better than her, and it sort of does, yeah, but typing-wise, they are very different in how they do things. And we're going to go over his typing right now. Typing-wise, he is a fire/flying type, which means, yes, he does have a 4 times weakness to rock. Stealth rocks would kill him, but since I haven't given people movesets yet, I haven't given any prominent stealth rock users to exist. But just saying, if Rathalos did exist in Pokemon, stealth rocks would be his bane of death. His weakness to electric and water don't really help him either. His immunity to ground is nice. His ability, Blaze, is not exactly fantastic. If Rathalos is going to take a hit, it's probably going to kill him because he has pretty exploitable weaknesses. Because of this, Rathalos isn't exactly the most fantastic, but he is still decent all around. finally, we get to the last of the dromes, Velocidrome. And by far the weakest. Velocidrome is easily one of the weakest monsters in the whole series. You fight him first for a reason, or at least second to first, I believe. I don't know. Anyways, Velocidrome is incredibly weak, and not just in this game, but also in Monster Hunter. And you'll see that as soon as we get to his stats. Here we go. Oh god, those are horrible. His only redeeming quality is that 85 speed. Besides from that, he is not good. With those stats, he looks like a freaking baby Pokemon. And since he is just a pure normal type, that means he's got nothing going for him either. Yeah, immunity to Ghost would be nice, but it doesn't matter. There's no Ghost types, and fighting types don't exist either. And so that's it. He just dies to everything. Invisibility, Unnerved, just like before, really doesn't matter. Let's move on. Yan Cuckoo, the bird chicken Pokemon. This guy likes eating that ball. I don't really have a lot to say about Yan Cuckoo. Barely fought him because he doesn't last long enough. He's pretty weak. He's normal / flying type, so I guess you could call him the regional bird of the first Monster Hunter. His stats are better than Velocidrome's, but that's not saying much because Velocidrome is easily the worst in the whole game that I've created. I guess he has a decent special attack, but everything else about him just screams mediocre or worse. His typing is normal / flying, which means that he actually is immune to ground, which is nice, but that's really about it. And that rock and electric weakness doesn't really help him either. As for his ability, it is Early Bird. I didn't want to give him a good ability because he doesn't deserve it, but yeah, Early Bird, here you go. Now here's the complete opposite from the last two that we were looking at. Monopolist, however we pronounce it. He's going to be the pseudo-legendary of the first game. Look at that terrifying horn that pierces the skies. He's basically Diablos' brother, I guess. They both have like exact same design and exact same move set. It's just this one only has one horn, but that one horn is easily just as cool as Diablos' twos. Stat-wise, as I said before, Monopolist is a pseudo-legendary, which means he has a 600 base stat total and really good stats, as you can see. 120 speed makes him easily the fastest mon in the whole entire Monster Hunter first generation. His attack stat is good, his defense stat is good, and everything about him is really freaking good. Diablos might outclass him in a physical wise, but Monopolist definitely outclasses him speed wise. He also has the exact same typing as Diablos, so everything I said about Diablos before takes into account here. Ability wise, Sheer Force is really good. If he had himself a Life Orb, Jesus Christ, he would hit really hard. Monopolis is built for success. That is the whole reason why he has a pseudo-legendary. But let's move on from pseudo-legendaries to actual legendaries. Here comes the electric horse Kirin, which for some reason is an Elder Dragon, even though not looking like an Elder Dragon in any way, shape, or form. Kirin is a legendary, one of the first 3 legendaries that I'll have on this list. Kirin is obviously an electric unicorn, and that obviously means that it is very cool. Kirin also has very good stats, as all 3 of the legendaries do. Kirin is sort of like that Mew archetype, where she has 100 base stats in all areas, and because of that, she's the most well-rounded out of anything. And she can do anything. 100 base stat total in all areas is just great. There's nothing more I can say about it. It's pretty goddamn simple. If you have 100 base stat total in all areas, then you can pretty much do anything that you want to do. She'll outclass a lot of people in their jobs, but all legendaries are banned to Ubers anywhere. Typing wise, it is an electric / fairy typing, which means that it can murder the other 2 legendaries because they're both dragon type, and that electric typing allows the shock of the 2 flying types, Rathalos and Rathian, straight out of the sky. But that Kirin will never have the ability to do that though, because Kirin is going to be banned to Ubers because all legendaries will. All around, really good. Okay, let's be honest here. Its ability isn't fantastic with Vital Spirit, but I don't know, at least it can't be like put an end to its murder spree by putting it to sleep. We're down to the two last legendaries. Lao Zhang Lung, the very first absolutely massive monster. This guy is freaking huge. He is standing like a skyscraper. Since he is the very first absolutely monstrous Elder Dragon, obviously it means he's gotta be quite beefy. Lao Zhang Lung is obviously one of the most big monsters in the whole entire series. And that is why, because he's so goddamn big, his stats are crazy! Oh my god, hit point stat of 200 and defense of 140. This guy makes Basarios look like nothing. Those stats are all terrifying. Except that speed of 10. If you don't know, Lao Zhang Lung is like the slowest thing ever. Its fight takes 30 minutes for a reason, and that's because it never frickin' moves. Typing-wise, it is a dragon/ground, like our good friend Garchomp. Oh, sorry, Flygon. Flygon was the first dragon/ground type. Still sucks, by the way. As a dragon/ground type, its major weakness is ice and dragons, since... Oh yeah, Kirin as well, because Kirin is fairy type. But it resists rock, fire, and poison, which is all very good. And is immune to electricity. All around, a very good type combination. As for its ability, Strong Jaw, it probably would learn biting moves. Have you seen that mouth? It would tear anything to sunder with that absolutely humongous jaw. And finally, we come to the Mewtwo of the first Monster Hunter game, Fatalis. Fatalis was originally made to be the strongest monster in all of Monster Hunter, and just like Mewtwo, was eventually outclassed by other monsters, but he is still incredibly powerful. If you saw earlier that Lao Zhang Lung had a base stat total of 680, which puts him on the same level as most of the cover box art monsters, like Kyogre and Groudon. However, Fatalis is above that. With a base stat total of 700, his stats are beautifully crafted to be amazing. 140 attack, 140 special attack, and 100 defenses and 100 speed. Fatalis was made to rule over all other monsters. And he certainly fulfills his role. So just like Mewtwo, Fatalis is pretty unstoppable, besides from Kirin, who could probably kill it. But besides from that, let's go over Fatalis' typing. Obviously, Fatalis is a dragon type, and since Fatalis is also a dragon type, he's also a fire type, because he breathes lots of it. He doesn't have any immunities, and he's weak to ground, rock, and dragon, which is honestly a lot more than you would expect, but yeah, it's a lot of weaknesses that are actually very prominent in this game. As for his resistances, none of them are really helpful. Fire, grass, electric, and that's about it. So even so, Fatalis is obviously way too strong for pretty much anything in this game to handle. Its ability and multi-scale is just like good old Dragonite, which allows it, if it comes into the battle at full hit points, it takes way less damage. I don't remember exactly how multi-scale works, so I'm not going to act like I'm an expert on it or anything like that, because that would just make me look like an idiot. Okay, whew, that was a lot. I thank you guys all for watching this behemoth of a video. Sorry I haven't posted in absolutely forever. It's... I was working on this for a while, even though it really didn't take me that long. Either way, I am so glad you watched all of this. I put a lot of work into it. I hope you can leave a like, comment, subscribe. If I made any mistakes or you want to talk about anything in the comment section, please leave a comment below. I will definitely respond. Thank you all for watching. Bye-bye.